The anime starts at a high school in Tokyo, Japan. A male student named Baki Hanma has a mysterious and terrifying aura. Every student who tries to attack him is overcome with fear and fails. The reason for this strangeness is revealed when an old man named Mitsunari Tokugawa visits the school and asks to meet Baki privately. In their private meeting, Tokugawa calls Baki a champion, which annoys him. Tokugawa then informs Baki that 5 powerful individuals are coming to Tokyo, and he must prepare himself. These 5 individuals are convicts who are about to be executed for their crimes. The first convict is from Agarathos Prison, a maximum security prison on Tacoma Small Island, in Washington, D.C., United States. That night, dozens of police officers bring a male death row inmate, number 777, named Dorian, to his execution. When asked about his last wish, Dorian says he wants to experience defeat. Without a word, the priestess proceeds with the hanging. After 10 minutes, a doctor checks if Dorian is dead, but he is still alive and immediately kills everyone in the room. When other officers enter to inspect, they find the police, priests, and doctors hanging from the ropes. On the wall, Dorian leaves a message saying he is going to Tokyo to find someone who can defeat him. The second convict is a male death row inmate named Hector Doyle from Cairo Prison near Glasgow, England. When asked about his last wish, Doyle also says he wants to experience defeat. The executor arrogantly replies that he cannot give Doyle defeat, but can give him the final pain. At the same time, the executor signaled to turn on the electric chair, and Doyle was shocked by a powerful electric current. However, this torture did not kill him. He easily escaped from the electric chair and quickly got behind a police officer. He then killed all the police officers and the executor in the room. He told the pilot to take him to Tokyo so he could find his final defeat. The third inmate is from Evin Silo Prison in Russia, where there was once a dangerous experiment to launch deadly missiles. That night, a death row inmate named Sikorsky escaped by climbing through a steam tunnel. After being investigated by the police, it was found that he had killed one of Russia's strongest heroes and left a message saying he would go to Tokyo to find his final defeat. The fourth inmate is from a level 5 underwater prison in Florida, United States. A male inmate named Speck escaped after killing a visitor and using the visitor's gold teeth to open the lock. Speck could survive underwater for 5 minutes, where the pressure is so strong that most people last only 30 seconds. With this ability, he swam to the mainland and killed the entire Coast Guard. In Japan, a dangerous convict named Ryuku Yanagi is locked in a bulletproof glass room. He often uses poison gas as his primary weapon. That night, Yanagi asked the police officers about the world's deadliest gas. The police, scared, pointed their weapons at him and told him to back off. Instead of backing off, Yanagi broke the thick, bulletproof glass as if it were an ordinary window. After killing all the police guards, he left a message saying he would go to Tokyo to find his final defeat. These 5 men are the great powers Tokugawa warned about, each coming to Tokyo with the same goal of finding their final defeat. Tokugawa tells Baki to be ready because these are not ordinary prisoners. They are very dangerous. Tokugawa asks Baki to prepare since he is the strongest martial arts master in Tokyo and the champion of the underground battle arena. One day, Baki is surrounded by several school thugs, each skilled in martial arts and using knives. Baki, without fear, approaches them and defeats them one by one. He quickly disarms them and uses their weapons against them. When the last thug is about to shoot Baki, Speck suddenly appears and takes the gun from the thug. Speck fires the gun into his own cheek several times without feeling any pain. Speck says he came to Tokyo to meet Baki, the strongest human in Tokyo, and tries to shake hands with him. But unexpectedly, the hand he offers is a piece from one of his previous victims. Without hesitation, Speck brutally beats Baki until he falls to the ground. Fortunately, some police officers arrive and arrest Speck. Before leaving, Speck kicks Baki, who had gotten back up, saying they will meet again. Meanwhile, a large, muscular man with long red hair, named Yujiro Hanma, watches the news about the dangerous inmates who have escaped. Yujiro is Baki's father, known as the strongest man and feared by many combat troops worldwide because of his incredible martial arts skills. At the same time, Yanagi meets one of his old enemies, Guki Shibukawa, the inventor of Jiu-Jitsu, a martial art that can defeat enemies by attacking their vital points. Yanagi once fought Shibukawa and defeated him again. Meanwhile, Speck causes trouble in a Tokyo prison by beating the police commissioner, Morio Sonoda. He also breaks through the prison walls and brutally attacks a shopkeeper, breaking the shopkeeper's bones. In another place, at a karate martial arts school founded by Doppo Orochi, there is a duel between Orochi's son, Katsumi Orochi, and Kyu Retsu, an expert in Chinese Kenpo martial arts. The match ends in a draw, and Katsumi acknowledges Retsu's great fighting skills. Soon after, Dorian arrives, looking for Doppo Orochi. Instead of a peaceful meeting, Dorian brutally attacks Katsumi with punches and kicks, causing severe injuries to his neck. As Dorian tries to leave, Retsu stops him and asks him to return to the battle arena. In response, Dorian drinks a bottle of alcohol, spills some around the arena, and sets it on fire to create a diversion for his escape. Meanwhile, Tokugawa is having dinner with several underground arena fighters at his house. Suddenly, Sikorsky appears and brutally attacks one of the fighters, causing serious injuries that require hospitalization. Angry at Sikorsky's actions, another fighter challenges him but is no match for Sikorsky, who defeats him easily with one kick. Afterward, Tokugawa takes Sikorsky to the underground arena to meet the fighters who will be his opponents. The 5 inmate monsters, including Spec, who escaped from Tokyo prison after leaving a message saying he would return soon, also attend the meeting. After Tokugawa and Sikorsky arrived with the other 4 inmates, Baki appeared with 4 master fighters. Tokugawa divided them into 2 groups, the convict group and the underground master fighter group. In Baki's group, there is Doppo Orochi, the founder of the largest karate school in Japan, and Karib Hanayama, the leader of the strongest Yakuza gang in Japan. Also in the group are Shibukawa and Retsu, who previously fought Yanagi and Dorian. Tokugawa then gave information about a tournament he held a year ago with 38 strong fighters, where 17-year-old Baki came out as the winner. However, in this tournament, Tokugawa introduced different rules. Each fighter can attack their enemy anytime, anywhere, and under any conditions. This means they will not fight in an arena but in various places during their daily lives. That night, the match between the 2 groups was declared to have started. After hearing the rules, Baki decided to go back home because he had school the next morning. Later that night, after the meeting, Doppo and Dorian were walking together when Retsu suddenly appeared, targeting Dorian as his first enemy. Before Retsu could attack, Doppo attacked Dorian with a powerful karate kick. Doppo not only has strong attack abilities, but also great defense. He proved this by successfully countering Dorian's bursts of fire. However, within seconds, Dorian's titanium wire from his lighter severed Doppo's left wrist. The lighter was a special weapon designed with titanium wire that was very sharp and thin, but strong enough to hold up to 200 kilograms. Dorian let Doppo keep attacking him so he could attach the wire to Doppo's wrist and cut it. However, this didn't bother Doppo much because he had already lost his fingers during tough training with Rattan. Using all his strength, he hit Dorian's face with his left arm bone, cracking Dorian's facial bone. When Dorian was thrown far away, he took the chance to leave and continue the fight another time. The next day, Baki went on a date with a girl named Matsumoto Koju, the daughter of the inn owner where he lives. They were nervous but liked each other. In the evening, as he was kissing her, Spec suddenly appeared behind them. Fortunately, Koju didn't notice Spec because Hanayama quickly pushed him away from Baki. Hanayama wanted Spec as his opponent in the duel. Spec, grinning, accepted the challenge and charged at Hanayama. Spec shouldn't underestimate him because Hanayama is a Yakuza leader used to danger and can defeat all members of a rival Yakuza group alone. Spec hit him relentlessly and even threw a park bench at him. But none of these attacks weakened Hanayama. Then, Spec attacked Hanayama with a signature punch known to be very dangerous. Several years ago, he punched the Statue of Liberty hundreds of times until it nearly collapsed and had to be supported by strong iron wires. This time, Spec repeatedly punched Hanayama, who could only withstand the attack without fighting back. But after Spec finished, Hanayama knocked him out with just one hit, causing him to fall to the ground. After that, Hanayama continued his attack with a powerful punch, leaving Spec helpless. But before Hanayama could land the final blow, Spec detonated an explosive bullet in his own cheek that he had stolen from a police officer. Despite the explosion damaging his face, Hanayama remained standing and immediately slammed Spec against a power pole, causing him to be electrocuted. Soon after, police officers were shocked to see Hanayama bringing in the now helpless Spec, who had been shocked by the electricity. Their fight resumed when Spec, who had recovered, overturned the car carrying Hanayama and several police officers. The battle between them became even more intense. Even with various attacks like multiple punches, pistol shots, and lightning grenades from Spec, Hanayama won the fight again. A few days later, Spec is still in a coma and undergoing treatment in the hospital. He is transformed from a fit man who looked 50 years old into a very frail, elderly man who seems 97 years old. His dream to experience his final defeat has been realized. Meanwhile, Baki seemed bored with his school lessons and kept yawning. The principal noticed this and scolded him, saying that not all problems in life can be solved with muscles. While hitting Baki on the head, the principal advised him to take his lessons seriously and use his brain, as human intelligence can surpass the limitations of physical strength. Shortly after, Doyle suddenly appeared by breaking through the classroom window and directly hitting the principal. Baki, pleased to see the principal being hit, felt moved and thanked Doyle. Baki then quickly ran out of the room to the school's backyard to avoid fighting with Doyle in front of his classmates. He doesn't want them to know his true identity, so he avoids fights at school. Unfortunately, Yanagi, who had disguised himself as the school gardener, had targeted him. Yanagi attacked Baki with a weapon called Kyoketsu Shoge. With Yanagi's swift attack, Baki lost his weapon and almost got hit. Fortunately, he dodged, and the attack only hit his uniform. The fight was suddenly interrupted by Shibukawa, who attacked Yanagi just as he had before. Shibukawa then told Baki to attack Yanagi, reminding him that there were no rules against 2-on-1 fights in this season's match. So, the battle between Baki and Shibukawa against Yanagi began. Even though Yanagi faced two opponents at once, he managed to survive using extraordinary techniques. One of his techniques is to reduce the enemy's oxygen, which he used on Baki to make him unconscious. Fortunately, the fight didn't last long because police sirens started to sound, and Yanagi had to flee. In the evening, Baki and the 4 other underground arena fighters gathered at Tokugawa's house. But during the meeting, Dorian suddenly appeared with a bucket full of gasoline and matches. Just as Dorian was about to burn them all, Katsumi arrived and kicked the petrol bucket, spilling it on Dorian. As a result, Dorian was burned with the gasoline he had brought himself. Doppo felt proud of Katsumi's action because Katsumi practiced the purity of karate, defeating Dorian without using weapons. Doppo believes that preparing weapons before a fight lowers a fighter's self-esteem and tarnishes the honor of the fight. Surprisingly, even though he was burned, Dorian survived and challenged Katsumi to a fight. Hearing this, Katsumi introduced Dorian to his teacher, Kato Kayasumi, and challenged him to fight Kato. Kato is a karate master who prefers real fights over arena matches. Without delay, he attacked Dorian, and their battle began. The fight didn't last long because Dorian used piano strings he had prepared to entangle Kato and Katsumi. Luckily, Doppo cut the strings with his bare hands, explaining that with intense practice and years of hard work, any human can turn their hand into a lethal weapon. Suddenly, Dorian took out a grenade from his mouth and exploded it. Everyone survived, including Dorian, who escaped and hid in a city water channel. Unbeknownst to Dorian, Kato had been following him and challenged him to continue their fight. Using oil and broken glasses gloves, Dorian attacked Kato repeatedly. Instead of feeling defeated, Kato felt happy and challenged because the fight became more interesting. Kato then counterattacked, hitting Dorian from all directions until he stabbed him in the eye, thinking he had won. However, Dorian had hypnotized Kato, making him believe he had won. To end the fight, Dorian immediately snared Kato's neck with the wire string he had prepared earlier. The next day, Retsu found Kato's helpless body in a boxing bag at the Shin Shin Kai Karate training ground. He quickly took the dying Kato to the hospital for treatment. After this incident, Doppo and Katsumi ordered their members to hunt down Dorian all over Tokyo and capture him. With hundreds of karate college members, they soon found and arrested him. Members of the Shin Shin Kai Karate School from various professions gathered to defeat Dorian. They led him to an amusement park and asked him to go inside alone. At the park, Dorian was greeted by a clown and taken on various rides. While enjoying the rides, he was attacked by Atsushi Sudo, Kato's comrade. They fought fiercely on a high-speed roller coaster. Sudo, who understood Sanchin's balance skills, maintained his balance and attacked Dorian without falling. Seeing this, Dorian decided to push him, knocking them both off the top of the roller coaster. Dorian survived the fall by hooking his titanium strings to a lamppost, using the strings to support his weight and avoid hitting the ground directly. After that fight, Dorian faced Dapo, who wanted revenge for his severed left hand from their previous fight. Without hesitation, Dapo hit and kicked him repeatedly, using all his strength. During the fight, it is revealed that Dapo managed to reattach his hand with the help of a talented doctor capable of performing complex operations. Dorian tried to use his hypnotic technique again, as he did with Kato. However, this time it didn't work on Dapo because he had very fast reflexes even under hypnosis. As a karate legend used to danger, Dapo has a high sensitivity to attacks. With this ability, Dapo, free from Dorian's hypnosis, finally defeated him. After breaking all of Dorian's ribs and leg bones, Dapo let Kato in the fight by killing Dorian. But before Kato could land a blow, Dorian, in fear, declared his defeat. That night, while in the hospital, Dorian visited Kato's room and expressed disappointment that Kato didn't kill him in their previous fight. He then left the hospital and went to Dapo's house to use his last weapon, an explosive in his hand. Elsewhere, Baki and Koju had just returned home from a date and dinner. Watching Koju run back to her house, Baki felt disappointed in himself for not having the courage to invite her to his room. Meanwhile, Dorian, after leaving Dapo's house, accidentally met Retsu. Retsu punched him, knocking him to the ground. When Dorian regained consciousness in the ambulance, his mind was broken, and he acted like a child who had lost his mother. Retsu, seeing that Dorian had gone mad, felt sympathy and decided to take care of him for the rest of his life. Meanwhile, Sikorsky suddenly comes to Koju's room and threatens her. Luckily, Baki arrives just in time and immediately kicks Sikorsky, beating him up. Baki is angry with Sikorsky for involving his loved ones in this fight. He then forces Sikorsky to leave Koju's house. However, Sikorsky manages to escape and takes Koju with him. In another place, Sonoda, a senior Japanese police officer, is discussing with representatives from the UK, US, and Russia about the 3 convicts still roaming in Tokyo. They decide to ask for help from an Arizona prison inmate named Biscuit Oliver. Oliver is an inmate who receives special treatment from the US police because he helps them catch major criminals. The next day, Sonoda leaves for Arizona to meet Oliver. Upon arriving at Oliver's prison room, he is surprised to see it is very luxurious and filled with valuable paintings and sculptures. When Sonoda reaches the door, Oliver welcomes him and invites him into his hotel suite-like room. Oliver then gets a call from the police about a criminal causing trouble in the city center. Oliver invites Sonoda to come with him to see how he catches criminals wanted by the police. When they arrive, Oliver tells the police officers to go home because he will handle the criminal alone. The criminal wants revenge on Oliver for what he did to him a few years ago. Although the man shoots at Oliver repeatedly, the bullets cannot penetrate Oliver's tough body. On the contrary, Oliver easily defeats him and hands him over to the police. The next day, Oliver and Sonoda left for Japan on Oliver's private plane. After arriving in Tokyo, Oliver asked Sonoda for permission to take care of some personal matters. Meanwhile, Katsumi and Baki received news that Yujiro had found information about Koju's location. Baki immediately went there to rescue her. At the place where Koju was being held captive, Oliver and Yujiro met by chance while looking for Sikorsky, and it seemed they already knew each other. When Baki arrived and realized that Koju had been harassed by Sikorsky, he attacked Sikorsky with a series of punches. The force shattered the apartment window, and Sikorsky fell. However, Baki was surprised when Sikorsky reappeared in the room. Sikorsky had clung to the building's iron bars and climbed back up, just as he had climbed the prison walls to escape. Baki prepared to fight Sikorsky again, but the fight was cut short when the police arrived, forcing Sikorsky to flee. In the afternoon, Baki found Sikorsky's hideout and challenged him to continue their fight. Angry and seeking revenge for what Sikorsky did to Koju, Baki attacked. He punched Sikorsky from all directions and ended his assault by kicking Sikorsky in the groin, causing him to bleed and fall unconscious. Oliver, who had been watching secretly, approached Baki and congratulated him while clapping. Oliver then planned to take Sikorsky away and hand him over to the police, as it was his duty to catch the escaped inmates. However, Baki felt insulted by Oliver and tried to punch him in the face, but Oliver easily blocked it. Sikorsky, waking up, challenged Oliver to a fight. He punched Oliver repeatedly, but the attacks had no effect. In contrast, Oliver knocked Sikorsky down with a single punch. He then handed the helpless Sikorsky to Sonoda and thanked Baki for finding Sikorsky. Later, while Oliver was gathering information about Doyle at the police station, Doyle, disguised as a police officer, suddenly appeared and attacked him with a knife hidden in his elbow. Seeing Doyle, Oliver locked the room door to prevent his escape. They fought fiercely, causing many wounds on both of their bodies. However, with his greater strength and defense, Oliver overpowered Doyle, leaving him limp. When Oliver grabbed Doyle's collar, he injured his hand on a sharp razor blade hidden in it, giving Doyle a chance to attack. At that moment, Sonoda and Shibukawa entered the room, surprised to see the injured Oliver in the bloody room. Oliver explained that a policewoman had attacked him and escaped through the ventilation hole. Elsewhere, a large man named Shinogi Kosho teaches karate at the Shin-Shin-Kai College, demonstrating his skill in cutting objects with his bare hands. Shinogi has a very deadly technique called the cord cutter. After the class, he asks Katsumi about the convicts roaming Tokyo seeking defeat. Shinogi wants to fight one of the prisoners in a one-on-one duel because he feels stronger since his fight against Baki a year ago. Katsumi tells him that Doyle is currently staying at a luxury hotel in room number 701. When Shinogi arrives at the hotel, he sees Doyle checking the weapons hidden in his body. Shinogi immediately attacks with a powerful kick to Doyle's neck, causing him to have a seizure. While Shinogi is caught off guard, Doyle blasts a heel shot at his face, dislocating his lower jaw. As Shinogi prepares to attack again, Doyle quickly activates a bomb aimed at Shinogi's face, causing a powerful explosion that destroys Shinogi's face. Doyle himself is not severely injured because he has modified his body to be immune to explosions. As a result of the fight, Shinogi undergoes many operations and is hospitalized for a long time. His older brother, a doctor and an underground arena fighter, feels very sad to see him so injured and plans to take revenge on Doyle. Shinogi's older brother meets another underground arena fighter, Jack Hanma, who is Baki's half-brother. After learning that Doyle defeated Shinogi, Jack decides to help Shinogi get revenge on Doyle. He does this to thank Shinogi's older brother for performing bone-lengthening surgery on him after Jack was defeated by Baki in an underground arena match a year ago. On the other hand, Doyle and Retsu, who meet by chance, decide to fight each other in a one-on-one duel at a bar. Retsu starts the fight by piercing Doyle's eye with a kunai and burning his body with fire. After that, Retsu throws several kunai at Doyle, causing him to feel pain and weaken from losing a lot of blood. Seeing his bad condition, Doyle uses a smoke bomb to escape. But this is just a tactic for Doyle to attack Retsu from behind. Unfortunately, the attack has no effect, and Retsu responds with 1,000 punches to Doyle's body. As Retsu is about to finish Doyle with a wushu spear, he asks if Doyle admits his defeat. Doyle replies that he can still get up and has not tasted defeat, which makes Retsu angry. Retsu then attacks him with various kicks. The next day, Retsu sees that Doyle is dying and decides to take him to the health facility at the Shin-Shin-Kai Karate College. A few days later, Doyle wakes up and finds himself at Shin-Shin-Kai's college. Retsu explains that he was in a coma for 2 days and lost a lot of blood, so the Shin-Shin-Kai students donated their blood to him. A few days later, Retsu finds that Doyle has left his treatment room and concludes that Doyle has now recovered from his injuries. The following night, Doyle suddenly appeared at the Shin-Shin-Kai karate training room to thank the students who had donated blood to him. However, his main purpose was to continue his unfinished fight with Katsumi. After putting on an aluminum suit, Doyle spread flour all over the training room and lit a match. The room exploded and caught fire, burning everyone inside. After setting the Shin-Shin-Kai Karate College building on fire, Doyle walked into an alley and accidentally ran into Dappo. Dappo avoided Doyle, who refused to admit defeat after losing to Oliver and Retsu. He challenged Doyle to a duel, allowing him to use weapons and insulting him. Annoyed, Doyle attacked Dappo with a hard punch, but Dappo easily blocked it. Dappo then defeated Doyle with one hit, knocking him unconscious. When Doyle woke up, he found himself back in the Shin-Shin-Kai Karate College building and saw Katsumi with severe burns. Katsumi asked if Doyle admitted defeat, but before Doyle could answer, Katsumi kicked him hard, knocking him out again. Katsumi continued to kick Doyle until he admitted defeat. That night, when Doyle woke up, Katsumi's assistant told him that Katsumi had decided to stop the fight and declared Doyle the winner. Katsumi admitted that he didn't want to harm Doyle's body further, and preferred to lose the fight. Hearing this, Doyle decided to meet Katsumi and admit his defeat. Meanwhile, Sonoda received news that Sikorsky had escaped from a high-security prison by climbing the wall using only his finger strength. In another place, Yanagi comes to see Baki, who is with Koju, and challenges him to a one-on-one fight. They go to a field and start fighting, with Baki making the first attack. Yanagi then retaliates with a deadly chopping technique, imagining himself as water flowing smoothly. However, Baki has also learned this technique from his father, who taught him it was usually used for self-defense. Unfortunately, in the middle of the fight, Sikorsky suddenly appears and joins Yanagi in attacking Baki. Now, Baki must face two enemies at once. Without fear, he immediately attacks them with multiple punches and kicks in succession. Yanagi then decides to stop the fight and takes Koju away. At night in the port of Tokyo, Yanagi confronts Doyle, who is about to leave for another city. Yanagi feels disappointed in Doyle for admitting defeat and making peace with the enemy. Insulted, Doyle tries to punch him. However, Yanagi strikes first, hitting Doyle in the eye with a poisoned hand, blinding him. In his weakened state, Doyle is easily defeated by Yanagi and is forced to throw himself into the sea to escape being killed by Yanagi's katana. Meanwhile, Jack finds Sikorsky in a phone booth and immediately attacks, trapping him inside. Jack then loads Sikorsky into a boxcar and sends him to the underground arena stadium for a one-on-one duel. Their fight continues in the arena with one simple rule: fighting with bare hand. In the match, Jack appears superior due to his physical strength and larger body size. Sikorsky resorts to using weapons like a wooden gun and a nail, but these attacks are ineffective against Jack, who has strong abdominal muscles and fast reflexes. After an hour, Jack was replaced by a smaller fighter named Gaia. The audience underestimated Gaia because he was smaller than Sikorsky and Jack. However, Gaia quickly silenced them with a surprising move. He roared loudly, destroying all the lights above the arena, which instantly quieted the crowd. Gaia then attacked Sikorsky with the sand in the arena. The sand was mixed with teeth and nails left over from previous battles. Gaia slashed Sikorsky with the sand, causing nails and teeth to pierce his skin and injure his entire body. Next, Gaia used a new tactic by camouflaging himself with the sand, making it hard for Sikorsky to see him. Gaia took the opportunity to attack Sikorsky from all directions, frightening him with each surprise attack. Sikorsky was haunted by the fear of these attacks, which came every 10 seconds. Finally, he decided to give up and admitted his defeat. Meanwhile, Yanagi was fighting a man named Motobe, using the same weapon he had used against Baki. But Motobe seemed superior and managed to cut off Yanagi's poisoned right hand with his weapon. In the middle of their fight, Yujiro suddenly appeared and declared that Yanagi had lost. When Yanagi refused to admit defeat, Yujiro hit him with a powerful blow, causing Yanagi to fall to the ground. On the other hand, Doyle, who was hiding in a cave on the beach, was found by Oliver. Knowing that Doyle was blind, Oliver attacked him with a single hard blow, knocking him unconscious. Finally, the 5 death row inmates who sought their final defeat have been defeated. Meanwhile, Baki, who had been attacked by Yanagi's poisonous fist, began experiencing severe symptoms. His body became thinner and weaker, and he was rushed to the hospital for treatment. The doctor told Koju that Baki's chances of survival were slim, making her very worried and sad. A few days later, Baki escaped from the hospital and returned home, realizing there was no cure for his illness. Later, Baki and Koju went to a house in the mountains to meet a man named Ando. Seeing Baki's deteriorating condition due to Yanagi's poison, Ando mixed various herbs to try to neutralize the poison. However, Ando warned that Baki's condition might be beyond help. Baki then went to a cave where he had once promised never to lose a martial arts battle. That day, he admitted he had lost the battle against Yanagi and couldn't keep his promise. After returning to Ando's house, Retsu visited Baki, worried about his condition. When Baki went to shake hands with Retsu, Retsu suddenly punched him, causing him to fall unconscious. Retsu wanted to take Baki to a Chinese martial arts college to participate in a great right eye match. The right eye match is held only once every 100 years, and only top world-class fighters can participate. In this match, Baki would fight against his father, Yujiro Hama, and Muhammad Ali's son, Ali Jr. Despite his weakened condition and the poison still in his body, Baki intended to win the right eye match because his goal was to defeat his own father. And the anime ends. So the moral of the story is, if you ever find yourself bored at school, just wait for a bunch of escaped convicts to show up and turn your life into a non-stop action movie.